welcome back to the finishing line, proudly sponsored by Hollywood Bets, and Tom is back.
I'm back, and I'm double jobbing the old Hollywood Bets promotion tonight, Dave. So we got the old Hollywood Bets. We got the old Brentford jersey. Come on, Brentford.
Tom is back. He's looks like Hollywood Bets got sick on him.
I've lost the Hollywood Bets phone booth. You can now see what a tip my spare room is.
Yeah, it looked better when it looked better when the bed was there. It looked like there was a dead body in there, Tom.
It did. It's an absolute tip at the minute. I need to empty basically the whole thing, and I've got great plans though, Dave. I was sending Siobhan pictures. I was bored there Friday evening, and I was sending her pictures of my wine display that I'm going to put in the office. I haven't fully got the sign off yet, but it's going to look class. It's going to be like 3 rows of wine, and then another one going across. It's going to look very good, but I need to get the sign off from the wife first.
The boss.
The boss. There's no point in saying otherwise. I should probably ask Keely, whose bedroom this used to be as well. She wasn't too impressed when I sold her a bed. First time she heard her bed was for sale when I texted into our family WhatsApp group and said, I just got 50 quid for your bed, Keely, on Dundee. So I didn't go down too well.
How was your holiday?
Fantastic. Went to Madeira, which was really, really good. My kind of climate, warm, but then in the evenings, cool enough that you can walk around comfortably. The food in Madeira, lads, is insane. We went to 7 different places on 7 different nights, and we did not have, one dodgy meal in the Chinese, but we shouldn't have gone in there in the first place. But we had 6 fantastic dinners. Hotel was brilliant. Ronaldo stuff everywhere, obviously. Went to the Ronaldo Museum. I had to pay a £5 to get into that as well. Not the best half an hour of my life, but apart from that, it was good.
Tom, you know the way you spend a long time, yourself and the golf dodger himself. Andrew's not here, he's at a wedding. But Tom there, the French Kevin Blake and the golf dodger, spent a good bit of time taking the piss out of me for my organisational skills that were perfectly fine as we all ended up where we should have been at the Dublin Racing Festival and will again. So do you want to tell the viewers about your trip to the Michelin star restaurant, or will I?
I might as well own up to it. So on our last night, so we're staying in this hotel, which was really, really nice. But next to us is the hotel on the whole island. It's unreal. And on the top, there's this sky bar. So I've gone into the hotel. I've made sure that we can get access to the sky bar. Yes, no problem, sir. You take the entrance to the right. It's open these times and whatever these days. So Tuesday night, our last night, I was like, right, we'll go to the sky bar there for a drink before dinner. And then I'd got my eye on this Michelin Guide restaurant. Now, it wasn't quite Michelin starred, but it was Michelin Guide restaurant. And I'd seen it before we went. And I said, it's the one place I want to eat when we go there. So teed all this up for a great final night. So we got around to the Sky Bar, closed at 3 p.m. on Tuesday for works or something. I was like, shit, this isn't good. So we've gone from there, we've gone down to the restaurant. So, right, let's just go to the restaurant now. So I'm walking down to this restaurant. We've had no problems getting in anywhere. It's busy, but it's not too bad. And as I'm walking in the door, there's this massive sign, reservations only. I said to the guy, is there any chance? He was like, absolutely no chance. So we didn't get to the Sky Bar. We didn't get to the Michelin Guide restaurant. Absolute shite planning on my behalf. Kicking the stones. But we had a nice evening. We ended up in an Indian chatting to a guy from the port. So it's quite fun.
So you are in fact the scammer, not me. That's the
I'm a complete fool. What should have been a class evening turned out to be a nightmare. Yeah.
Tom, any Pimlico news before we kick on with the racing over the weekend?
Mark Feast is running tomorrow. he's in good form. He ran a really good race to finish third last day. I think he's really strengthened up this year. So looking forward to him. The only issue is he's against in what is, in my opinion, the best handicapped horse in Ireland. Unanswered is a Tony Martin horse that I followed. It won on the flat in Limerick, and I followed it on its next two runs there afterwards when it won again on the flat at Gurren, and then bolted up by 8 lengths in a handicap at Punchestown. Now, this horse wants a bit further than this. It's gone up £13, but it's owned by your man John Breslin. They've definitely got Galway in mind. It's only rated 102, so it needs to go and win again to get into something at Galway. And unfortunately, we're running into it tomorrow night. So, look, if we could finish anywhere near that, I'd be delighted. So that's good. And Cotty, for anyone who noticed, Cotty took a tumble at Wexford on Friday. She's okay, though, thankfully. She got up and walked away. Didn't look too good as the camera turned and she was laying on the ground, but thankfully she's okay. So she'll live to fight another day for us.
Good to hear. Okay, so we'll kick on with the racing over the weekend, touch on it all, and then now that Tom is back, he's going to touch on some of the goings on in the racing at the moment. There was ones that Tom didn't quite enjoy or like today. Myself and Andrew had talked over the course of when you were gone the 2 weeks, a few more cases of drug cases coming up and stuff. So we give Tom. Yes, there was. John McConnell was one of them, and there was a few others. But we give Tom a couple of minutes just to talk about the Stewarding and stuff at the end, at the Irish racing, which me and Andrew touched on last week anyway, with the shambles that happened in the Pretty Polly and Toomey's horse being disqualified.
That was bad.
Yeah, it was poor. But first of all, the Carl Eclipse, the French sent over Vidani, Aga Khan horse, got the job done. I know Tom likes Mishriff, and he looked unlucky in the run. David Egan was, in my opinion, going for a gap that was never there. I would think Vidani is the better horse. I think Sumion took it pretty easy once he went to the front. I thought Native Trail ran a pretty good race as well. I think that Alan Kerr form is suspect to say the least. But the 3-year-olds, they ran well. Vidani was first, Mishriff second. Tom, what did you think? You probably taking Mishriff out of this going forward.
Yeah, I think I'll just touch on the winner first. I thought a very, very good performance. I thought Sumi gave him an unbelievable ride. Tactically, he said afterwards, he probably didn't want to be in front that soon, but he kind of had to. He kept his dangers in, he kept tight, and he challenged at the right time, and I thought it was a brilliant ride. Mishriff was the obvious one, wasn't he, to take out of it. David Egan's kind of found himself in a position where he's kind of boxed in, and he's got a choice there to make. Does he come back and around and follow Sumion through, but then he's going to lose first run, or does he hope that it opens up in front of him? And he hoped it opened up in front of him, and it didn't. I agree. There wasn't much of a gap there, and he's had to switch then and run on. So I think that was definitely the one to take out of it, Mishriff. Native Trail ran okay. Lord North has ran okay. I think this got messy because there wasn't much of a gallop. Alan Kerr was the one who had to go and lead, and he didn't really go much of a gallop, as you could tell by him pricking his ears and jumping around the place halfway. So a bit of a messy race. I think the winner's very good. I think Mishriff is back to form. I thought that was a very good run for him. And hopefully he can kick on now again this season. And that's kind of it, really. I think Alan Kerr's got more days in him. This just didn't work out. Bay Bridge, I wasn't on the show last week, but I was happy to take him on at that price. I thought he was plenty short. And the winner, look, Sumion was comparing him to Zarkava and horses afterwards. So he looks a he looks a lovely horse going forward. And yeah, I wouldn't put anyone off following him wherever he went next time, really.
There's a couple of comments there about the bands and stuff, and we will get onto that in a separate topic. And then a couple of comments about some poor race riding. We touched on David Egan probably going for a gap that wasn't there. Look, it happens quite a lot on the flat. You don't see as much of, I suppose, horses being hostage to fortune in the jumps. It just doesn't happen. They're going at a slower speed, and they tend not to be all on top of each other. But to a certain extent, I agree that there is poor rides a lot, but all jockeys get things wrong at times. William Buick gave Check and Challenge a very bad ride on Saturday too, and I think David Egan on Midbahi he probably should have won that race, that Group 3 sprint. But I wouldn't be giving out about all rides. It happens a lot, and a lot on the flat. It just is the way the races are run. Well, what I don't like seeing is when horses have a good draw, it's taking them out of a good draw and a good position. And that's what I thought William Buick. I mean, William Buick is an unbelievably good jockey, but all jockeys make mistakes. Ryan had, say, Tuesday too far back in the Irish Derby, but I wouldn't be slating one or the other, but they all make mistakes, and just William Buick was a fine example of that. I think that's a race for that horse that got away. He was miles too far back. He dropped him out the back, and it just didn't work. Of the other races, Tom, Sandown and Haydock, there was some nice performances. We'll probably talk more about the Haydock Fillies race because of the bands, but Hurricane Lane was out today, and I expected him to be a little bit better than the normal St. Ledger winner turns out to be, but I just think St. Ledger winners just do not end up being genuine 1 mile 2, 1 mile 4 Group 1 horses. And whatever about his first run at Ascot, he should have won today if he was back in business. And that was a very, very poor Group 1, in my opinion. The winner, Alpinista, she's 5 for 5, 5 in a row now, and fair play to her. But, I think the likes of the horses we seen on Saturday even would pretty much beat her easily enough. So what do you make of Hurricane Lane?
Yeah, he's definitely taken a massive step backwards, hasn't he? We're keen to take him on at Ascot. He's obviously had his issues this year as well, that he didn't get out until Ascot, and I don't think they're hiding away from the fact that he has had a few problems. I thought they turned him out pretty quickly again in this. Obviously on paper it probably looked a good opportunity for him, but I felt they turned him out again pretty quick. And he's just not run his race, has he? It's one of these, maybe a 3-year-old then going on to take on the older horses next season, stepping out of that grade, and they're finding it a bit too tough, like that race at Ascot, it wasn't the greatest race in the world, I didn't think. And if he struggled in that, he's now going to struggle in a Group 1 in France, which, look, Alpinista has amazing. She's won 4 Group 1s on the trot, which is mad to think. I wouldn't have ever thought she'd have gone and done that. So she's clearly going the right way, whereas Hurricane Lane's going backwards. Lone Eagle was well beaten in this as well, and then there's High Definition. So I don't think it was the greatest Group 1 ever, and he's got to be beaten. I don't know, the jury's out. I don't really know where you go from here with him. You can now, obviously, the benefit of hindsight, you can start to question some of his form last year. He only just got the better of Lone Eagle and McGallen, and then fantastic. He's gone and won the St. Ledger. The form of that probably looks the best with Mojo Star going on to run so well at Ascot. in a proper staying race. So I don't know. Is he a proper stayer? Is that what we're looking at? I think today was too bad to be true though, and maybe something will come out from it. Maybe there's an injury there again or something like that. But you could not be backing him anyway next time. But I would give some credit to Alpinista. 4 Group 1s on the trot. That takes some doing. She completely goes under the radar, that filly.
Yeah, I think she's been very well placed by connections as well to pick up those Group 1s. But, I mean, you can only beat what's in front of you. And one of those Group 1s last year, she beat the eventual ARC winner. So, fair play to that horse. Very well placed to win copious amount of Group 1s. Of the other races, there was some nice performances of Haydock and Sandown as well, but probably the best performance with what happened in the race was Free Win, John Goslin's filly. Again, just looked streets above what she was facing, genuine Group 1 filly, but a lot went wrong for her in the race. And touching on that, and Rob Havlin getting a ban for his race riding in that race, and then Christoph Simeon after the line in the Coral Eclipse when he was celebrating gets 12-day ban for, I think, careless riding. So I don't know, Tom, which do you think was worse, and do you think the bans are justified? I thought the Rob Havlin one was, I suppose you can, in my opinion, you could say he was at fault or Jim Crowley was at fault. It's probably going for a gap that might not be there, but done well in the end for the horse to win. But I thought Simeon's is a bit too much, maybe. It was a bit immature of him to be celebrating when that bend kind of comes straight away after the line at Sandown, and there's not much space for horses to be going up his inside. It could have been pretty dangerous, so I understand them banning him, but I don't know. It seems a bit 5 days and 12 days seems a bit. There's too much of a discrepancy there, in my opinion.
Yeah, just to touch on Free Wind first. I thought that was a brilliant performance. She was by far and away the best horse in that race. You don't normally see horses meet that trouble in running and then get back up to win by 2 1/4 lengths. She looked progressive last year. That was her first run for 296 days. I think she could play a part in a Group 1. If she's placed in the right Group 1 this year, I really, really think she could play a hand in one. And she'll go into it a bit under the radar, I think. She hasn't got that profile that she's been there last year in Group 1s and stuff. But by the looks of that, she's a Group 1 filly, and I'd be very interested to see where she goes. In terms of the race itself and the incident, I thought Jim Crowley made an error from a race riding point of view because he came off the rail. He, I'm sure in hindsight, would say, I'd love to I should have stuck to the rail. But once he's made that move and Rob Havlin has gone halfway up there, he's got to stay straight. And he doesn't stay straight. He pulls his horse back in. There was enough, I've watched the replay loads, there is enough room and enough time for Rab to go up there. Now, ballsy move. Would I fancy, if Ruby Walsh came off a rail by a couple of lengths, would I go and stick my horse's head up it? I probably wouldn't, just because I know he's probably going to try and cut me off. But he had enough time, and he got halfway up there. And then Jim Crowley he's pulled his horse back in. How Ram Havlin has got 5 days for that, and they don't view it as Jim Crowley coming back in on top of him when there was a gap there. I just have no idea. I just cannot explain that. I was reading now this evening that Rab's saying he's going to appeal it, and he's every right to. And I would be 100% sure that it will get overturned. But this just comes back to, for me, this dangerous race riding, which Crowley knew he was coming back in on top of. He pulled his horse back in. How we don't have centralized stewarding that look at that and judge everything the same. The lack of consistency is staggering. I feel they've completely got the wrong person whose fault it was here, and they've banned them for 5 days. It just doesn't add up for me. on the Sumion one, and then you're looking at that, which I think they've got completely the wrong way around. And then you've got Sumion celebrating. And as he's held his hands up, he said, look, it was my fault. I've come back in on the horses afterwards when I was celebrating. I took one hand off the reins. I shouldn't have. He also said in his interview, he said, I haven't ridden here for God knows how many years. He said, the rail comes out. And he said, I just wasn't expecting it. He said, I've taken my hands off the reins to celebrate. My horse has followed the rail. He said, as soon as I've realized I've put my hands back on the reins and, you know, I hope the horses are okay. He's very apologetic about it. To get 12 days for that is just mind-blowing. Now, I'd put this to you, Dave. Frankie Dettori does that in a Group 1 anywhere, but let's say, okay, let's even say it was in that race. Do you think he'd get 12 days? I don't.
I don't think, if it had been an English jockey whatsoever, never mind Frankie, I think if that was Native Trail and Buick won and that happened, they'd listen to Buick and he would be apologetic and so on and so forth. And he rides there a lot and knows what happens there. I don't think he would have got anywhere remotely close to 12 days, maybe 2 or 3, but not 12.
I think 2 or 3 days, you've made a mistake. You know, you didn't mean to do it. And I heard Chapman going on. Now, Chapman gets some things completely wrong, and he gets this a little bit wrong as well. But I heard him saying as well, if you compare that to the Paul Hannigan 10-day ban, where Paul Hannigan deliberately comes across the field, and as he's causing interference, continues hitting his horse with one hand, and then Sumion celebrates, and he gets 12 days for it. Like, it just doesn't. This is the problem at the minute. It doesn't add up. And it's not consistent. And it needs to be a lot more consistent. And it really, how we don't have centralized stewarding, I don't know. Because you don't even need that many people to do it. You need a panel of, you know, I don't know, 15, 20 people maybe. And they just sit down and they watch every race. And if they need to hold an inquiry, if they need to get a jockey on the phone, they can. But half the time, you don't even need the jockeys. I saw one in Ireland today, and they asked a jockey about a horse that had been a massive eye catcher. And I have my own opinion of what went on in the race. And they asked him, and he just said, you know, just basically said nothing. And that was the end of it. They didn't, you know, they were like, oh, okay, that's fine. It's just, it doesn't add up. And I think it'll go on. It'll just go on like this until someone actually has the balls to come in and change it. And I'd love to see Ireland go and do it, to take the lead on it and go and make a difference and make a change, and see if the UK follows suit now.
Yeah, look, I thought Sumion's was very harsh. You've touched on it, and I said it before, that for a jockey that doesn't ride Sandown, I can understand where he's coming from, because when you come to the end of the hill at Sandown and right where the finishing line is, the track starts turning back around to go. You're basically at the end of the track and you're turning straight away. So the rail, it kind of forces the horse to go towards the rail, which is turning, and obviously there's not going to be much of a gap there. The Haviland and Crowley one, like I don't understand how Haviland got a ban and Crowley didn't. I think I'd be happy if they both got a ban. But I think basically saying Rab was at fault and Crowley wasn't is a bit nuts. And the thing with the Sumion one, it was coming back to the inconsistencies and basically the Paul Hannigan one. Now, I don't know if Hannigan like purposely cut across horses, but he definitely didn't stop his horse cutting across. Kept whipping him. He should have stopped his horse doing that and straightened him up.
Just on that, Dave, because somebody said Hannigan on purpose, a bit harsh, Tom. What I mean by on purpose is his horse drifted left. It caused interference, and he kept going. Like he didn't try and correct his horse. He was happy to let his horse come across other horses on purpose. He definitely should have put his hands down. I would love to see if you had somebody who wasn't into racing, and you lined the three of those up and you said who got the biggest ban out of the 3 of these incidents, and then said who got whatever bans, I'd love to see what they'd pick out. But I think
Yeah,
you'd pick out the Hannigan one anyway.
yeah, and that's what I mean about, like, he purposely didn't correct his horse. I don't think he purposely was like veering his horse towards other horses, but he is the jockey and knows what's happening. He's a professional jockey. He's getting paid to ride the horse, and he should have straightened him up. But exactly, Tom. If you were to go back in a year and a person didn't know, and you were showing those 3 events and said who was the worst here, I think majority of people would say Paul Hannigan is. And Suman would probably be the least because it's after the line. The race riding has pretty much stopped. All the horses are getting towards being kind of geared down and pulled up. And for him to get 12 days for that is just madness. It comes down to inconsistencies, like you said, and as a few people in the comments have said it, and it does need to be dealt with. And there's issues in Ireland with the IRHB making crazy decisions like last week, and England, it seems to be stewarding the whole time. And I know Ruby says it kind of every time he's on ITV Racing when there's an issue like this. It needs to be dealt with. And how can horses say, like the Hannigan incident, he caused all what happened, but yet he is the one that still keeps the race. And they're going to have to come up with some sort of a punishment that just stops it. Either a severe ban for if you are deemed, and they'll have to kind of figure out how to do this, but if you're deemed to have dangerous riding in a race that like could cause serious harm or injury to someone, your horse should either lose or be disqualified, or it's going to have to be a ban that just deters it straight away, like 30-day ban, month away, job done. And I guarantee it'll stop it all because, like the French and all that, they have different ways of stewarding, and it might look odd from us watching in Ireland and England, but it seems to do the job because they don't bash into the other horses over there, because if they do, they get disqualified straight away. So
and people go on about the best horse winning, right? But surely the whole thing of the best horse winning is if you keep all of the horses in a straight line, then the best horse wins.
Yeah, like
and if you can't keep the horse in a straight line, then
there's obviously race riding is a part of it and all that. And in the car Eclipse, Mishriff tried to, like David Egan tried to go for a gap that wasn't there. And be fair to David Egan, he suffered it, pulled his horse out, and he's quite unlucky probably in the end how it looked. But that was the right way to do things. If Egan had kept going for that gap, there would have been God knows what would have happened, because it was closing and there was going to be 3 horses coming on top of each other. And then again, that's dangerous. But it is happening a lot, and I don't know what they're going to do with it. They'll have to centralize stewarding, like Tom said, or they just have to have someone making these decisions. But the inconsistencies are crazy, because you can't have, in my opinion anyway, I think Tom is the same on this, and by the comments, they're the same. You can't have Sumion getting 12 days and Paul Hannigan getting 10 days. So it just don't make any sense.
It's one of those as well, Dave. If they throw a couple of them out, it'll stop fairly lively. You'll see lads you won't see rides as such as the Paul Hannigan ride anyway. You'll see lads make, because they know even if they win, then they're going to get thrown out. The problem is, at the minute, they know if they win by far enough, it doesn't really matter what they do, because if they win by 2 lengths, well, sure, I was the best horse, and they win. So.
Yeah, look, and I think if they do it and it becomes part of racing, even like, they're obviously going to feel, I suppose, hard done by if you back a horse and it gets disqualified. But if if they come up with a way, and straight away that's dangerous riding, and everything is gone from there, the horse being DQ'd, the jockey's being banned for 30 days, or there's a massive fine and all that, it just stop happening, because jockeys are not going to take that risk anymore if there is a big ban. Like I said, like you just don't see it in France, because if you interfere with a horse in France, you just get placed behind that horse or DQ'd, and it always, it's rarely seen anymore over there.
It's and you can use other examples of other sports of, like, how things have been implemented to change things, like rugby. Like, you never see. You used to see, when I was growing up, rugby, you'd see a punch up every couple of games. It doesn't happen. They just know they're going to get they're going to get sent off, or if they don't get sent off in the game, they're going to get cited the week after, and they're going to get a long suspension for it. So it just doesn't happen. You just cut it out. And I don't know, maybe that's something we bring in. Do we bring in something again, though? It would be back to centralized stewarding, wouldn't it? That you could get cited for something the week after. My dog's going mad now. You're going to see.
So mine was going mad there as well.
I left it. I'm here. Siobhan's down in the bed sick, and I'm here on my own with the dogs. So I said, I'll leave the door open. They'll be fine. They'll just go in and out. Nah, not a chance. I see just a couple of people there, Dave, on about the Jim Crowley one, and they're saying, like, he shouldn't have gone up there, and that Crowley kind of had the right to close him off. I don't agree with that. Crowley made a mistake when he let his horse come off the rail.
Yeah,
that was the mistake he made, and then Rab had every right to go up there. You can't then pull your horse in once somewhere is halfway up, you're inside.
Yeah, I would agree as well. Race riding would be stay on the rail and don't give him the gap to go up. If it's there, then
if
your horse is fast enough and good enough to go through that gap, then fire away. Like, but yeah. Tom, anything else to talk about regards stewarding or any other?
No, just there was one in Ireland today that just absolutely grained me. And yes, I did back it, but I don't really want to go into it because I have to be careful what I say, because, as I say, the stewards didn't really think there was much of a problem. I did. I don't know. Just go the 3:10 at Tremor, go back and watch it and make your own mind up. Yeah, I don't know. Make your own mind up. Watch the race and see what you think. And the stewards were happy enough with the rides. It's just stupid, though. It's like, come on, guys. Anybody can see this. Like, if you want to make the game cleaner and better, like, if something like that happens, like, ban someone, and you won't do it. Like, it's so frustrating.
If it's obvious to us sitting at home watching it on TV, then it's surely obvious to the stewards. But look, I'm always saying that in like football and stuff like that, I'd be watching players and like, how is that person getting a game? Because surely the manager is watching him, because I can see him. But like, it's the same. The stewards are watching the racing and they can see what's going on. And if we can see it, and then they go, it's fine, and there's an issue there, isn't there?
It's not fair on. I could bring it back to punters. Like, you back that horse today, like, that's not really fair on you, I don't think, because I don't know. I think it could have finished closer, but
we will.
It's kind of it, really.
We will leave it there. We are back Wednesday as normal.
Can we do the ones to follow? Because this weekend for me was full of horses to follow.
Go on, fire away.
So somebody actually was eagle-eyed and put it in the comments. Equilateral. Jesus Christ, that horse should have won. He's in good form. He was dropped down to, I think it was a Group 3.
Tom, you keep talking because the dog is eating something. I can hear her, and she's close to me.
You go for it, Dave. I'll go through my couple there. But yeah, Equilateral, look, could probably be competitive in a Group 1 off of that form. But yeah, outside of a Group 1, certainly looks like it's in very good form. The other one then was Uzo. Safi Osman got no run up the rail, really travelled like a dream. I think that one will be winning pretty soon. And there's another one. There's another two. Check and Challenge. the race didn't develop how that one wanted it to. Was well out the back, had to come all the way down the outside and ran on really well. That's got a big handicap in it, I think, somewhere. And then I'm just going to check. The Irish one was Keep in Touch. Dermot Weld, newcomer for Moyglair. Chris Hayes riding, finished fourth at Nace yesterday. Looked a little bit awkward, but definitely has ability. Behind that Auguste Rodin, Dave, I think that maiden was quite a good race. And the other one, somebody's just put it back in here, is Mitt Bahi. Got no run up the rail and finished second at Sandown. It's going to read that's got beat and finished second, but that's definitely got another one in it. So yeah, it was a good few to follow there, I thought, this week that stood out.
Yeah, it was a good day's racing yesterday. There was some nice racing today. I thought William Haggis's horse that was favourite in Haydock, Gassy. Haydock never suits horses that are held out the back. It's a strange track, and a lot of times need to be up by the pace. And he ended up running on to be third, but so much ground to make up with 2 furlongs to go. So I reckon because he didn't win, they might put him into a handicap again. And he's definitely he's a group horse in a handicap. Just things didn't work out for him yesterday. I agree with Midbahi. I think I like the horse that won that race, but Midbahi should have won. He got a bad run up the rails. And the Guineas, the 2000 Guineas form was franked again. Takarud Bay won at Haydock. Again, he was up near the pace and he just got up on the line. But there was a lot of horses from that race still to be seen, and it looks a decent enough race. Native Trail ran great again, I suppose, in the ECLIPSE. So yeah, it's a good weekend's racing.
Was actually, yeah, enjoyable. I'm getting into Galway mode now, Dave. I'm starting to look forward to that and
get it. You know what? I was reading a story that Gigginstown, I think, are only going to enter Felix Deji for the Galway Hurdle, and Kubo will be delighted. But 2 years ago, he went off favourite and fell, I think, at the second, and he seems a bit refreshed and revitalised. I think last Thursday in that Grimes Hurdle was a bit of a jog around for Felix Deji, so he might have a chance in the Galway Hurdle, to be honest, I think. That's if he doesn't go nuts, because he tends to do that as well, but sure, we'll see.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I see they're saying embittered for the plate as well. I'm still sure embittered. He's got a big race in him somewhere.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. There's some great racing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we have the Newmarket July meeting. There's a couple of Group 1s. You have the July Cup, which is always a good race, and hopefully we'll see Perfect Power again, because he seems to be a good horse for betting on, because he just keeps putting ones beside his name. Also good racing at Ascot and York on Saturday. So on Wednesday we'll have a pretty big preview. We could have 10 or so races, because we'll go through some of the races on Thursday and Friday as well. Tom's looking at me funny, but I'm in charge, so 10. I don't care. Yeah, probably 10. 10. So fun. We'll have to stopwatch out to make sure that you don't spend too long on it. Other than that, thank you very much for another week. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and see you Wednesday.